Here we are. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Northside Podcast. It's been a busy couple of weeks recording, and today we have a very special guest. Everybody's special, but very extra special today. We have Anette Soto Landeros.
Hi,
is
everybody.
That correct?
Yes, that is.
Okay.
Thank you. My father will appreciate it. Soto is still in there. He has 2 daughters, so we're carrying on that Soto name.
Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Thanks for coming. I know you're a busy person, so on that topic, let's talk about your busyness. What are you doing? What are you doing these days? Let's start there.
Yeah, so 2025, the end of 2025, brought a big life change for me and my family. I transitioned from being the president and CEO of the Hispanic Chamber to being the chief strategy officer with Trinity Metro, which a lot of people were confused by. But actually, my career was in transportation. I worked for the USDOT, the Department of Transportation, for 12 years. That's actually how I got to Fort Worth. I worked for the Inspector General and was in D.C. And when I decided I wanted to come home to Texas, they said, we have an office in Fort Worth. Would you like to just move there? And I didn't know anything about Fort Worth, but I said, sure, it's Texas. I'm sure it'll be great. It'll be closer to my parents in San Antonio. And so that's how I got to Fort Worth with DOT. So it's kind of a coming back to transportation for me.
Okay, full circle.
Full circle.
So, and also full circle in the terms of you're a Texas gal.
Yeah, I'm a big
So
Texas gal.
I didn't know about that. Tell us about, like, where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from San Antonio. I left for college. I went to Indiana University, but came back for grad school. So I lived in Austin, went to UT Austin. And then I tell everyone I have 2 degrees in public policy. My goal was always to work in Washington, D.C. I wanted to know all of our nation's secrets. And so when I ended up working there with DOT, I never thought I'd work in transportation, but honestly, it was like the first job offer I got. So I was like, I'll take it. And went to work in DC just like I'd always dreamed. Mm-hmm. And then sadly realized I didn't like it. And so that was a big turning point for me to like really acknowledge, like, while it was professionally exciting, I really missed Texas and the community. And I really yearned a community that I could be involved with. And wanted to come home, honestly. I just wanted to come home to San Antonio or even Austin. And so the opportunity to come to Fort Worth was the fastest way to get back to Texas. And I thought I'd be here for a short time and then move home. And then fell in love. And this is my home now. I fell in love with the city first, I'll be clear. Then fell in love with my husband, Joseph. Mm-hmm. And we got married here because we wanted our wedding to be very Fort Worth-centric at St. Patrick's Cathedral. The reception was the Stockyards. And then, because this is the city where we fell in love. And then we had both of our kids here. Mm-hmm. And now my parents, I never moved home, so they moved to me. So they're in Fort Worth now, too.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
so this is really home.
So Fort Worth really pulled you.
Yeah, the whole family, they'd say.
Yeah, I mean, that's a feat. I think that's an interesting thing because I think Fort Worth is pulling a lot. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah, I think the secret's out.
The secret is out.
Yeah.
And what do you think the secret is?
I would say, absolutely. That's a great question because I've lived in several different cities in Texas and outside of Texas. And I've even had these like long conversations with people who have always been in Fort Worth. And for some, they're like, Fort Worth is cool now. Like, this is weird because they never considered Fort Worth cool as somebody that grew up here. But I think the secret sauce is honestly the community. Of everywhere that I've lived, even though I always surrounded myself with people that were, do-gooders and like I always say like the people signing up for all the things, like volunteerism and like truly believing we can change the world kind of people. I think that Fort Worth is unique in that it's a city that if you really want to do something and create change or just join and help, that there's always an abundance of opportunities to do that with. And there's always no shortage of people that'll say, like, I'll help you. Or, absolutely, let's do it together. I, too, am passionate about that. So I just think the secret sauce is really an air of just people who really think we deserve an opportunity to shape the city and that our voice should be heard and that we're actively doing it. In a lot of cities, those doors are very tightly closed shut, and you never really even gather that community organizations or nonprofits are included in a lot here. But again, like I had never been involved in anything business related. Like my background was purely government, like truly, like that's all I knew, that's all I studied. And so I understood how government worked, but I didn't necessarily know the business side of things. And so just always like a really like, gosh, this could be something so beautiful. And the community is clearly beautiful, but it wasn't reflected necessarily in the investment in the area, right? And so that's all. It was just like an observation. I was really more on observation perspective then. And then how I became the president and CEO of the Hispanic Chamber was because I moved here not knowing anybody. I didn't have any family here in Fort Worth. And so I needed to make friends, to be honest. And so I just started to visit with groups that like women's groups, and I'd volunteer a lot. I was really looking for a community to make friends with, and I found that, luckily. And so all of my volunteerism, I think, landed me on starting getting invited to be on different boards. So I was very active with the Hispanic Women's Network of Texas. Mm-hmm. We did mentorship programs for Latinas in high school here in Fort Worth, and was raising money for scholarships for them to go to college. That was really where I think I cut my teeth on leadership and nonprofits. Became the state chair of that. Really,
so much.
Yeah,
Annette.
so much.
Wow, you hit the ground running.
Yeah, well, yeah. I will say that there are a group of ladies that you like say hello, and then like you're on a committee.
Okay. They pull you right in.
They pull you right
okay.
in. So I got a lot of experience because every time I showed up, I'd get another assignment.
Okay.
And they were just amazing Latinas that were, all ages. Mm-hmm. Like I was making friends with women in their 60s, completely different experiences, learning about them and how they navigated in the city. So anyways, was on the board of the Hispanic Chamber when our previous president announced he was leaving. Mm-hmm. And I realized all of the other board members started calling to see if I'd be interested. And I told them no 6 times. I've never even worked for a business. What would I do with a chamber? And then I realized my husband helped me realize that, I have nonprofit experience. The chamber is a nonprofit. My previous job was evaluating programs and trying to make them better. He mm-hmm. was like, why don't you do that with the chamber? Just trying to improve where you can. And then I decided to go for it. Wonderful. And it was the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I have to say that out of all of that, coming to where you just landed right now.
Yeah.
Northside Community LLC joined the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And yeah. I have to say, in thinking about everything that you just mentioned, I feel like I could feel the changes that were happening.
Yeah.
Because I'm an observer first.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see what's happening, make an informed decision.
Yeah.
As to okay, what's the next move? And I felt compelled after your involvement and your leadership at the Commerce.
Thank you.
That I needed to step in there and learn more. And I think it had a lot to do with how the culture was changing.
Yeah, it changed a lot, huh?
Right. No, yes, and you can feel it. Even if you're not in it, it has ripple effects in the community. Mm-hmm. That's how powerful I think a chamber can be. And I also wanted to get in because things happened that, some things happened that they're like, oh, I agree with that. And then other things you're like, whoa, what's going on there, right?
Yeah.
But I'm the kind of person where I am in my life now. I wasn't always this way. Where I want to get the information directly from the source, right? And mm-hmm. I realized I have to be in there to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
And not just to dig for information, but I also believe that seeing what was happening and all the resources that the chamber was getting and has access to, I was like, well, that clearly is going to help a small business.
Yeah.
And with the Northside Community LLC, the reason we did an LLC and not a nonprofit, number one, I have no experience with nonprofits.
Yeah.
I think you have to have experience in order to dive into that realm. Number two is if we claim to want to help small businesses outside in the deeper Northside, because it's a very big area.
Yes.
And the chamber can't do it all.
Right.
We had to step into those shoes. How are we going to help a community that we have know nothing about if we are not walking the walk?
Yeah.
Right?
So there's a lot to learn, too.
There's so much.
Yeah.
And in this particular landscape, in
mm-hmm.
this particular geographic location. Like, we need to walk those shoes. And I'm learning, and we're learning, like, as people are starting to collaborate with Northside community, what the landscape looks like. And from our perspective, I have to say, it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy out there.
Yeah.
Especially during these times. So I'm like, we have these conversations often with my friends who are trying to start small businesses. And I talk to the people that we represent in the magazine. We try to give them these tools to put themselves out there, tell their story. And, and circling back with them, they're like, it's tough, Arnoldo. Like,
it's really hard.
It's tough. Like, this has helped. And they say this has helped a lot. We've had a lot of people come after the feature in this magazine, but it's still hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, it is. Like, I see it. I hear you. I'm in there in the restaurants with them, and it's tough. So how do you see it from your perspective? Is that something that you hear from a lot of small businesses, or is this a one-off?
No, it's absolutely true. I will say that, so my husband and I started a business, Casa Azul Coffee.
Which we love.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And for my husband, while I was going through my career transition, he was too. He worked with elected officials before, and he was just really burnt out by that, to be honest, by that whole world. And so we were having these conversations about, to be completely frank, we were trying to have children and it wasn't working out. And so we were like, let's put that on hold. If we could do anything as young people who have the ability to like pivot, like we're blessed by like lots of opportunity, like what would you do if you could do anything? And for him, it was like open a coffee shop. And for me, honestly, I still don't know what I'm going to do long term. But he really did. He wanted to open a coffee shop. And I was just like, okay, I don't know how to do that. You don't know how to do that. But then I ended up at the chamber and ended up in this whole community of entrepreneurs. So to your point, I think the value of entrepreneurs finding their safe space. Starting a business is a very humbling and vulnerable position because you're putting all of your time, effort, social capital, your name out there, and it might fail. Like the reality is that there's actually a good likelihood that it could fail, and then what, right? And what does that look like? And so. What was great about being with the chamber was now I had hundreds of people that were going for it despite the fear, going for it, and actually making it look somewhat easy, even though we knew it wasn't easy, because they were just, they were unafraid. And so I think that helped me personally, because I'll be honest, I didn't want to really start a business. But he did, and I wanted to support him in that. And having now seeing people who've done it makes you think you can do it too. And we were like, okay, so we'd ask all the questions, so what bank did you work with, to who's your CPA, or how do we, can you look at our business plan? Can you what should we be doing? Who should we be talking to? And we really worked really hard. Joseph got an entire MBA while he was working on this business plan. That was another thing that we were that was mainly, on my point. I was like, hey, we're going to do this, because he also had mentioned get the MBA, and I said, let's do it right. Let's do both. And so he was studying, he was writing his business plan. COVID was happening. We ended up pregnant, so we had a kid. He was working at Starbucks because we wanted to make sure that he really wanted to do this, because I would hate for him to open and be like, wow, this is terrible. And so it took us 2 years of prep work to actually get open, find the space, figure out the concept, work through what was going to be our differentiating factor, find the funding. It was not an easy journey. And I think that when it finally happened, it was just wow, we actually did it. And so we're really excited. I think the fact that we took our time and realized that it was going to be a marathon and not a sprint helps us, because we understand. And so currently the business landscape is still difficult post-COVID, and now all the other things that are happening politically. And so I think for us, little things, you'll notice we don't have a ton of food. Food prices are still fluctuating. You know what I mean? Even we only serve, I think we serve more than breakfast tacos, but a lot of the stuff that we do serve has eggs. And so like prices of eggs are back up. And so you're just like, geez. But luckily we have we have a very narrow menu. We have very narrow ingredients. And so we're able to withstand a little bit more, I think.
Straightforward.
Very straightforward.
Yeah, people know what they're getting.
Yeah. Did we want to do a lot more? Oh, yeah. Like,
sure.
There's so much more we wanted to do and would love to do in the future. But what we're doing now fits, like, our family time. It fits. It's easy for us to navigate. And we hope to continue to grow it. But right now, it's just steady wins the race is kind of where we're at.
And if I can add to that, I feel like Casa Azul adds to the culture of Northside. It fits in. It speaks to the community.
Yeah.
It's like arts and culture centered. It's very, it's Frida. Casa Azul, for people who don't know, there's a Casa Azul in Mexico City where you can go visit Frida Kahlo's house. And is that
beautiful.
correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And
we went
pay
together.
an homage. Yeah, you pay an homage with a Frida Kahlo painting in there.
Yes. Yeah. So how we landed on Northside was at the same time we were talking to people trying to figure out where we're going to put this coffee shop. And we had heard from somebody that said that the Northside neighbors had complained that there was no Starbucks in Northside. And that they were told that they were not the ideal demographic for that kind of business or something. This is like just what we heard. Like somebody told us this. And we were like, that's stupid. And so we were like, okay, well now we know where we want to go.
Starbucks had said?
No. This was like from somebody that explained that Starbucks does research on the areas that they go into.
And that Northside wasn't their demographic.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Basically. Okay. Look at Starbucks now on 28th Street.
And now there it is, the biggest sign.
I know.
Right? But we got both. Okay, so we got the corporate and then we got the small business version.
Yes, but we were just like, okay, so this is where we need to be. They want coffee. We want to bring coffee. It fits everything what we were trying to do. And so it was so exciting to say like, hey, we're going to prove coffee works. And now there's other coffee shops. And so we're really excited about that. But yeah. It's just been a fun journey. The Frida thing, what we love about Frida, and I think what we gathered in our exploration of her house in Mexico City, is like when you're a young child of immigrants, your trips to Mexico include going back to their ranchos, their towns, and that generally is what you know about Mexico. So we had never been to Mexico City or any actually like of the bigger cities because we always went to the ranchos and the little towns. And so when we were old enough to travel on our own, pay our own way, book our own flights, like we were trying to explore Mexico City and found Frida Kahlo's house. And I think what that experience for us as adults did was just affirm our love of our culture and our pride. And so Casa Azul is not only a homage to her, but also being unapologetic about your culture. Because that's what she was. She traveled the world in Mexican attire and said, this is it. Like, you know what I mean? And we wanted to do that. We wanted to be unapologetic about our culture and our people and our flavors. And like, this is who we are.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful and well said. And I also think that Casa Azul is one of these, and we mentioned it in one of the podcasts, is one of these third spaces where people can hang out and meet community members and cross paths where in an urban layout that doesn't really, it's not conducive to that, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're trying to get there in Fort Worth, and in the north side in particular. I think other neighborhoods they're like leaps ahead of us in terms of that.
Yeah.
But Northside's time is coming, and I think it's coming soon. And that's why we tell people, like, prepare yourself, take the opportunity. Opportunity is knocking, and you should actually do it before it becomes too obvious that opportunity is here.
Yes.
Sometimes, you have to start now.
No, absolutely.
And by the time your business plan is done, maybe 1 year, 2 years,
it takes
you're
a bit.
ready for prime time.
You all know, because you guys had to get your own business plan and figure out like pricing.
Well, the same
and, like,
pandemic.
Yeah.
It was during the pandemic. I wasn't even here. I was in Spain, but I needed that quiet time. I needed to remove myself from the burnout.
Yeah.
And realize, okay, what's happening? What's on that chessboard? Oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
And then prepare for that.
Yes.
And now we're here, and the opportunities are coming. right? They are coming. It is slow, but it's also fun if you know
Yeah.
how to have fun with it.
Yeah, and I'm
Right?
hopeful that so the space that we bought was previously owned by the Sammy's family, Sammy's restaurant, and when we purchased it, they were really excited that another Latino family business was going to go in there. And so Laura Castillo, who was the daughter of Sammy, mentioned, she was like, man, I grew, because we had little Joaquin and he was like toddling around. And she was just like, I grew up here and my kids, like they were toddling around. I'm so excited that like a new family will be able to kind of conserve the space. So a lot on that. Like if there's like, everyone needs to be figuring out spaces and being very intentional about what they're doing with those.
Exactly. So wonderful. We're out of time. Unfortunately, we have a time limit here at the studio. But thank you so much for making time to sit with us and for sharing so much that you've shared so much today. I'm sure people are going to walk away with so much information. If you really listened, you are going to walk away with a lot. So
thank you for the opportunity. Yeah. I appreciate the invitation.
And I hope to have you back in some futures. I know you're going to be busy, but there's so much more where we can pick up. There's
so much to come.
So much, yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Adiós. Hasta la próxima.
Bye. Adiós.